The Navy's new Task Force One Navy makes more than 50 recommendations to cut and eliminate inequality and bias. Those recommendations range from easy to difficult and from quick to implement to long-term. Rear Admiral Alvin Holsey is commander of Navy Personnel Command, Deputy Chief of Naval Personnel. He's director of the task force. Admiral, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me today. How did you set up this task force to get these recommendations, and how did you do the work to arrive at those recommendations, sir?
And Francis, thanks for having me this morning. The task force stood up around 4 real lines of effort. Again, the charge we got from CNO was to look at things as society and military to detract from Navy readiness. So to be clear, this is about Navy readiness. CNO's campaign design that just came out, navigation plan came out, talked about sailors, readiness, capacity, and the capabilities. So right now, clearly make sure our sailors are ready and they feel good about who they are, and supporting the team is important. So we broke down through 4 main lines of effort. First with the Navy Recruiting Command, the second one with the Navy Personnel Command, looking at talent management and recruiting, then the Navy Education Training Command that looks at professional development, and then finally we did a fourth one, which really got into innovation in STEM, and then we did a catch-all miscellaneous category that kind of went out into the community, our sailors, our civilians, and kind of pulled out information. So we got most of our information from focus groups, listening sessions, which are very, very key to our understanding what our sailors and civilians were thinking, and then some surveys. So we pulled that data together and came up with our recommendations.
You said when this rolled out a few weeks ago that each listening session had the same key themes: respect, empathy, training, and skepticism. The first 3 seem self-evident. What were people skeptical of in these listening sessions?
So we got a chance at every time to ask a couple questions. Do you think something's going to happen? Because we could feel it from the folks who were talking to us. They weren't really clear if we're going to really make a difference. So every time we asked that question, it was very not alarming, but people said, no, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to really, you're not going to change anything. So again, that's where that skepticism came from.
You mentioned the 4 lines of effort. How would you measure the success of implementing the recommendations in those 4 lines of effort, sir?
So one thing we're going to do to make sure, to go back to the skepticism piece, because a lot of times we hear the comment, hey, we've done this before, you've had, task forces before, but this is different because we're kind of aligned with the Navy's Cultural Excellence campaign. So if you look at line of effort number 4 under that campaign, which is I&D, we're nested under that piece there. So if you think about a campaign design, a war plan, if you will, that is enduring now, every 6 months or so, we get a chance to go before our senior leaders in the Navy, most senior leaders, CNO and 4 stars, to give them an update on what we're doing. We can identify barriers, things we need help with, and they can actually give us some more guidance as we go forward. Over.
Is it possible to choose from among the 56 recommendations some that you think are more important to implement than others? Maybe the ones that will address that skepticism, or some other category of these recommendations, sir?
Well, 2 things. I think, first of all the recommendations are very important to me and the team. I think if you were to look at the one that affects the Navy writ large, our core values, adding the word and respect to our core values, we believe that respect is our true north. If you look at the task force cover sheet, it shows a Navy compass, a compass rose, and has that north respect at the very top. Why? Because we believe that that's our foundation. Respect says that I see you. It says that I hear you. And without respect, there can be no empathy. So we think that's the big moving part. Another thing that came up was from a lot of the listening sessions, and some of the retired folks talked about accountability. And so sailors want to know what's the accountability piece, which goes back to that Cultural Excellence campaign, and kind of going back to the 4-star leaderships, telling them where we are and how we're doing with it. Also, one of the recommendations deals with a leader development framework. If you can think about for a second from the standpoint of every 6 months or so, some TICOM, a type commander, 17 across the Navy, are going to CNO, CMP, tell them how they're doing from the standpoint of building officers and leaders with character, competence, and connectiveness. And so actually talk to the recommendations and talk to how they're doing.
Admiral, are there some of these that you've either already started or that will be fairly easy or quick for you to get underway?
Yeah, Yeah, so as you look at the recommendations, we have to have sharp metrics in our outcomes and measures. But some of these we've already started. The Navy Personnel Command, with the standpoint of a board process. In fact, one of the first recommendations that came out from SecDef back in July timeframe talked about removing photos from our board processes. And so one thing we want to make sure in our board process that we have diversity across the board is that's at least more transparency. So we're looking at that. That's a kind of one that we already put in place. The Navy Recruiting Command, how they view their sailors and the civilians out there, bring folks in the force, looking at a whole person a construct, make sure we can go and look at the whole person, not just a number or just a score, and say, hey, what else do people actually bring to the table?
We have about 30 seconds left, Admiral. Are there some of these recommendations where you'll need help, say, from Congress, from somewhere outside the Navy in order to implement them?
Well, just, I guess the first one you think about when we look at whether we stand up additional ROTC units, that's going to take extra money. It's going to take a lot of support. The Boost program, which is the one we're bringing back, again, that's going to take some support as well. But if I can leave you one thing, I think there's three things I wanted to see come out of this. One was a renewed sense of who we are as a Navy, as a people. The second was a profound understanding of the word respect. I think it's very clear. And finally, what I want to see come out of this was action. Action that improves readiness across the force while using all the talents and skills and you know what everyone brings to the table, right? Of all who serve, all with the uniform.
Admiral, thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.